Hello, hello, hello. Can anybody hear me? Is anyone in the chat? Let me know if you can hear me. Well, yeah, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. This could be a really short live stream today, but we'll see how it goes. I'm trying out something new. Let's see how it works. Um, I've had so much trouble with this, and I don't know if it's working. If anyone's in the chat there in the live stream, let me know if you can hear me because I can't. Yes, you can hear me. Fantastic, Jamie. Um, yeah, I'm trying out something new here, and we'll see in a minute. It seemed like the audio on that intro countdown clip was a bit messed up, so I need to figure that out, and hopefully, we're not going to have more of that problem, but we'll find out as we go along. Today in history, we got, what is it? It's the 3rd of September. And today is a really interesting day in history because today didn't exist in history. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But this day in history, let me get my screen back up here. I've got so many different screens on the go here. I've got 3 computers on the go here now. This day in history, Cromwell, the guy we've talked about here several times, is Oliver Cromwell. And on this day in history in 1650, Oliver Cromwell's new model army defeats a Scottish force in a surprise attack at the Battle of Dunbar. And the United States, the Treaty of Paris in 1783, the Treaty of Paris is signed, ending the American Revolutionary War between Great Britain and the United States. And excuse me, I'm checking back and forth between these computers here to see if this is working out okay. 1939, 1939, World War II, Britain declares war on Germany. That happened today too. Yeah, and Canada, in the First World War, Canada declared war at the very same moment that Britain did because it was a colony as such. But in the Second World War, it was the next day. Canada declared war the day after Britain did, just as a sort of show of its independence. Another independence kind of day. But yeah, the Second World War started today. And related to the Second World War, of course, is Anne Frank. And got to watch my wording here. Anne Frank is sent to that place where she was told work would set her free on this day in history in 1944. And another another funny little story here is this one. How are we doing? Is audio okay? Everything working okay so far? On this day in history in 1967, Sweden begins driving on the right hand side of the road. And this is a photo of the first morning of them driving on the other side of the road. And that happened in Newfoundland when Newfoundland joined Canada in 1949. We used to drive on the same side as here in Britain. And I don't know what day in history it was. Sometime in 1949, I think, it might have been 48, that we switched to driving on the other side of the road. And they thought it was going to be very confusing, so they decided that they would try it with lorries on the first day just to see how it would work out. So only lorries and trucks drove on the opposite side of the road. Okay, audio and video are good. Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4. Uh, some of your names show up here in the chat, and I can only refer to you by the name that comes up on the screen. And where is that funny photo? Oh, I didn't put it in. I didn't put that photo in, but it was okay. I can't find that now. But what I wanted to talk about today is this story. This story is incredibly interesting because this day in history, in 1752, didn't exist. This day didn't happen in 1752. I'll tell you about it. Give us our 11 days. This is a painting by, I'll get down to that in a second. Give us our 11 days. The 11 days referred to here are the last 11 days of September 1752, skipped when Britain changed over from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, bringing us into line with most of Europe. The Gregorian calendar is today's international calendar, named after the man who first introduced it in February 1582, Pope Gregory XIII. And before 1752, Britain and her empire followed the Julian calendar, first implemented by Julius Caesar in 46 BC. However, this calendar had an inbuilt error of 1 day every 128 years. So due to this miscalculation of the solar year by 11 minutes, they were off by 11 minutes, and that would throw it off 1 day every 128 years. It affected the date of Easter. Easter is a weird day nowadays because it falls on a different day every year, and that's to do with the moon. The moon, Easter is determined by the first full moon after the first Sunday after the spring equinox, if you can believe that. It's so people could figure out when Easter was, so it would always be at the appropriate time. So it moves around the calendar. But before that, in the Julian calendar, it was on March 21st. It was always on March 21st. But over the centuries, it started falling out of place. It wasn't in line with the spring equinox and Passover and all those things. So it began to move further away from the spring equinox with each passing year because of 11 minutes. So to get over this problem, the Gregorian calendar was introduced. That's a solar calendar based on 365-day year divided into 12 months. Each month consists of either 30 or 31 days, with 1 month, February, consisting of 28 days. A leap year every 4 years adds an extra day to February, making it 29 days long. First to adopt a new calendar in 1582 were France, Italy, Poland, Portugal, Spain, and Turkey was the last country to officially switch to the new system on January 1st, 1927. The calendar, the New Style Act of 1750, introduced the Gregorian calendar to the British Empire, bringing Britain into line with most of Western Europe. Its introduction was not straightforward. It meant that the year 1751 was a short year lasting just 282 days. So today didn't exist in 1752. It was decided that Wednesday, the 2nd of September, 1752, would be followed by Thursday, the 14th of September, 1752. So those 11 days disappeared from the calendar. And you'll see that on a lot of birth and death things from around this time period. You'll see two different dates for people's births and deaths on the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar, because there's 11 days difference and more in some cases. Claims of civil unrest and rioters demanding "give us our 11 days" may have arisen through a misinterpretation of the contemporary painting by William Hogarth. So that's the one I was showing you here. Go away, Salix. So this is the painting by William Hogarth. And yeah, William Hogarth, his 1755 painting, so it's a few years after the act, entitled "An Election Entertainment," refers to the elections of 1754 and depicts a tavern dinner organized by Whig candidates. A stolen Tory campaign banner with the slogan "Give us our 11 days" can be seen lower right on the black banner on the floor under the seated gentleman's foot. The Tories can be seen outside the window demonstrating. The changing of the calendar was indeed one of the issues debated in the election of 1754 between the Whigs and the Tories. It's also true that when British government, excuse me here. The British government decided to alter the calendar and skip these 11 days. Many people mistakenly believed that their lives would be shortened by 11 days. So it's that's I remember I don't remember when it was, in the 80s maybe, the province of Newfoundland decided to implement double daylight savings. Newfoundland is in a strange place. It has its own time zone. It has a half-hour time zone, and it's I think it's the only place in the world that has a half-hour time zone. So like it's something and a half hours difference, as opposed to everywhere else that is so many hours different. And anyway, I digress. The Newfoundland government decided, because we're in a weird place, because of that's why it was a half-hour time zone, because we're out in the Atlantic so far, and we're not quite in, the Atlantic Maritime time zone. So they added a half hour. So we also decided in the 80s to do double daylight savings to get us more in line with the seasons and whatnot. So instead of the two regular 1 hour, it was 2 hours. And people, I remember this one woman called up the radio station one day, and some open line program, and she said, "Oh, I think it's wonderful, Bill. I think it's wonderful, because now my potatoes going to get an extra 2 hours of sunlight." So people really think the government can control such things, and people thought their lives were being shortened by 11 days. They thought the government had stolen 11 days from their lives, and there were riots over it. People were also unhappy and suspicious at the moving of saints' days and holy days, including the date of Easter. So Easter didn't fall on that traditional March 21st. It moved around. Many people also objected to the imposition of what they saw as a popish calendar. However, many historians now believe that these protests never happened. You could say that the calendar rioters were the late Georgian equivalent of an urban myth. So no doubt these things happened, but not to the extent that has been portrayed in the Georgian times. Not everyone was unhappy about the new calendar. According to W.M. Jameson in his book Murders, Myths, and Monuments of North Staffordshire, there is a tale about one William Willett of Endon, always keen on a joke. He apparently wagered that he could dance non-stop for 12 days and 12 nights. On the evening of September 2nd, 1752, he started to jig around the village and continued all through the night. The next morning, September 14th, by the new calendar, he stopped dancing and claimed his bets. This is also an interesting footnote. Have you ever wondered why the tax year in Britain starts on the unlikely date of the 6th of April rather than the 1st of January? The official start of the year on the Julian calendar used to be Lady Day, the 25th of March. And this was also the official start of the tax year. And that's part of that beware the Ides of March. The Ides of March were a time when you would settle all your debts going into the new year. So the new calendar law, however, the introduction of the new calendar and the loss of the 11 days in 1752 meant this date was changed to the 5th of April, 1753, to avoid losing 11 days of tax revenue. Another change was made to the date in 1800, as this would have been a leap year in the Julian calendar, but not in the new Gregorian calendar. So again, the tax year was extended and the date changed to the 6th of April, where it remains to this day. So that is an interesting little story about this day in history, because this day in history in 1752 didn't happen. There was no September 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th, 11 days lost due to the introduction of the Gregorian calendar. So that's very interesting. This day didn't happen in 1752. That's another little story I like to ask people. It's not a very good question to ask people in this country. How many people were in the graduating class of 1983 in Newfoundland? And the answer is 0. It's 0 because in 1983, I was one of the lucky ones that before 1983, the education system, regular school, would only go to grade 11. And I would have graduated in 1983, but they decided to add an extra year. So we had to do grade 12. We were the first bunch of grade 12s in the province. So there was no graduating class of 1983. It didn't happen. So I wanted to, this is the thing I wanted to do today. This is the test that I'm doing, but I found that story so interesting that I figured I'd share it with you. But what I wanted to do today, this is a test to see if this is going to work, because let's go over to the combo. So this is a video I put out earlier today, and it ties back into the Second World War. It's Zelensky at the White House and Churchill. So I probably won't play the whole video. How long have we been on here? Yeah, I don't think we'll have time, but let's see. And it may not work. So I'm streaming live from YouTube. In the past, I've had videos downloaded into the computer to play, which works fine, but I want to be able to play live from my computer screen. So we're going to try it and see if it works out. So let me know if everything's working okay here. Now I have to mute my microphone and we'll press play and see what happens. An unelected leader, no election since the war began, turned up at the White House dressed in what some would call overalls, cap in hand, begging for weapons and money.
Wait, my second question for President Zelensky. Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the country's office and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Acorn runs a suit. This was Winston Churchill visiting Franklin Roosevelt at the White House in December 1941 through January 1942. He'd only been minister for a year and a half. Britain was battered, and there'd been no election during the war, and there wouldn't be one until July 1945. Millions of voters overseas serving in uniform. Churchill had been chosen by Parliament, not by came to Washington as a supplicant, pleading for food, for money, for survival. The movie Darkest Hour dramatizes one of those moments. Churchill on his encrypted phone with Roosevelt asks what he means. Roosevelt tells him he can't send a carrier to pick them up because of the United States Neutrality Act. Churchill reminds him, but we paid for them. We paid for them with the money that we borrowed from you. It makes for great cinema, but the reality was colder. Britain was nearly bankrupt. The cash and carry program had drained its reserves, and Churchill knew that without American arms, Britain's days might be numbered. And then there was...
Have either of you ever used Bluetooth on an electric toothbrush?
No.
No, right? A lot of people don't travel with them because they're too clunky, right?
And then there was the outfit, the infamous siren suit. It was real. It sounds like a myth, so much so that Snopes had to confirm it. So I'm going to pause there, and it's sort of working. I have to do some tweaks there and hopefully get that to work a little better. Maybe not. Maybe I'll have to download everything and play it from the computer, but I'd like to be able to stream directly from the computer. The let's see, because there are things I'd like to just have up on the screen quickly, you know, like the notes that I just had there. And so I'd like to be able to do that and just be able to have things up on the screen quickly like that. Like if something comes up in the chat or something comes up that I can just bring up on the screen quickly. I'm sure you've seen people do this, but I have, as I've mentioned before, my computer gear is so old that it's taken 3 computers to do what could be done on a new computer. But I've got this one doing the stream, this one playing the YouTube video, and this one to monitor the stream. It should be able to be done on one computer. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, but hopefully we'll get those bugs ironed out, and we'll see you in the next one.